It may be hotter than hell outside New York, but it's going to get even a little hotter because our guest here tonight live on Sportswire Radio's YouTube, sportnarium.com/player, and also my Twitter at Thomas Bryce 2017 has not been here in just about a year. He has got a lot on his mind. He's even changed hair colors since the last we spoke with him. He is the Swarm leader. He is going to talk all things about the Swarm, non-stop action wrestling, his most recent alliance with the Cult of Killjoy himself, Mr. Dan Robertson, plus who knows what else is on his mind. He is the definition of non-stop, never stop. He needs no further introduction, but because he hasn't been on here in over a year, he is going to get the introduction that everybody else gets here. So, wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show. Pro wrestling star here from Non-Stop Action Wrestling. He is the leader of the Swarm. He is the Hellhound, Dante. My friend, where you been?
I've been good. I've been busy.
Busy? That's an understatement. It's been a year. I mean, it's interesting because we have so many people come on. I lose count. I lose track. I don't even remember sometimes who people are. No, I'm kidding on the last part. But it's been a year, and you've really been a busy guy over the past year, Dante Okara.
I really have. I've turned the year around. Last year really wasn't my year, but now we are in the age of Dante.
I hope so. I mean, because last year when you came on, it was kind of like you were trying to find yourself, but now it seems like you are starting to hit your stride because you are the leader of the Swarm, and the Swarm certainly is a huge part of things in non-stop action wrestling. And most recently, the last time we saw you and the guys, after a match that Dan Robertson, no stranger to Sportswire Radio, the Cult of Killjoy himself, had surprisingly lost a match to one Owen Carter, another no stranger to Sportswire Radio. You helped Mr. Robertson attack and severely beat up and injure Mr. Carter. And I have to ask, for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio, why what happened after the match and why this, I guess you might want to say, newfound alliance with the Cult of Killjoy, Dan Robertson?
It's interesting you ask that, Tom, because with Carter, it was nothing personal. It's wrong time, wrong place. The Swarm had just come off their first loss since Christmas at Zenith. I'm sure you definitely saw that match, right?
Yes.
Amazing match.
No, you guys have improved a lot. No question about that. You have definitely. Sure.
But I'd just like to add, in that match, the Swarm was never pinned. We was never in the final result. We wasn't even at the ring area during the final result. So anyone that says the Society can beat the Swarm, they haven't done it yet. But yes, we lost that match. First match we have lost since Christmas. And we had to send a message that even though we lost, we're still as dangerous as ever. And Dan Robertson provided us with an opportunity to do so. So Dan made a deal with the devil. He wanted to make an example for Sammy Blue. And we want to make an example that we're still on top. And our interests align. That's all I can say.
So let me get this straight here, because I'm trying to figure this out, because I think a lot of people are kind of curious on why. I mean, so I have to ask you then, is it about Owen Carter, or was it about what you just said, something else?
Like I said, it was nothing personal against Owen Carter, but I've noticed over social media, Owen Carter and Phantom Phoenix
They've
Phantom
been
of the
talkers. Listen,
Outlaw.
they've been on here a couple times. They certainly had their feelings out there, aired about the society and things here in Nonstop Action Wrestling.
Oh,
And
I know, I know.
they've obviously fought with Donnie Franchise. I don't know if I'm going to ask you about Donnie Franchise, not your fight, but I mean, they have certainly been, I guess, big time talkers, you might want to say.
Well, Phantom of the Outlaw, they had one match with the society that they. Granted, I didn't see the full match. I've seen parts of it. It was a great match, but
Absolutely. No, listen, we saw it, and obviously that was a huge part of Deadline and the show itself. Absolutely. Yep.
they thought they could hang with the big boys, so the Swarm showed them that that's not the case.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I mean, so you feel like in a lot of ways that, and let me get this straight because I certainly think this is interesting because it's the first time you've been here in a year. Are you saying then the likes of a Phantom Phoenix and Owen Carter that they're almost like, as crazy as this sounds, new kids on the block, Johnny comes lately to kind of somebody like yourself who has worked his way up the ranks over the past year? I mean, to be fair, you've got a world title match last year. You've had feuds with Connor Cage. You've been in there with the Playtime Mafia. You got a couple of big wins over J. Rowe Lewis. I mean, so is that what you're saying here, Mr. Okara?
Exactly. They're the new kids on the block, and I have been here, not just me, James Westney, Drat Cross. We have been here in NSAW since day one, and
You
these
have
new
been an
kids,
original. You have definitely been an original in NSAW.
these new guys instantly gain opportunities that we waited a year and a half for, almost 2 years. That rubbed us the wrong way, so we made our opinions known.
So let me get this straight because this is a little bit fascinating. I don't know how much trouble I'm going to get when I say this here, but I'm sure you're familiar with the term wrestle kids, right? You've heard that term quite a bit thrown out there.
Quite a lot over the past few months. Yes,
I'm sure you have. And I was with a wrestler earlier this past weekend who's certainly a veteran wrestler, and he had expressed a couple thoughts on that. So let me get this straight then. Are you saying then that, let's say, these newer wrestle kids, a.k.a. Mr. Phoenix and Mr. Carter, you feel, let's say, maybe a bit offended by, more or less, trying to make a name off, let's say now, I guess, accomplished NSAW regulars such as yourself, Mr. Okara? Is that a fair statement to make?
that's if that's how you want to view it, Tom. That's the way you view it. But
Mm-hmm.
the fact Phantom of the Outlaw believe they can jump the line doesn't sit too well with me.
Well, listen, you guys have a resume. There's no question what you've done here. You've got some muscle. You've got some technical wrestling skills. You've got yourself in there in the mix. You've always been no stranger to being able to hold it on the mic and do it your best in the ring. And let me get to some comments here. I want to say hello to Andrew Hanley. How you doing out, Andrew? Andrew is one of our favorites. Our friends from the state of Ohio here in America, Dark Cryptic Wrestling. And that is Mr. Darkron himself, who is now the reigning, defending, once again, DKW Hardcore Champion. Good afternoon, fellas. Anthony Finkel, who tried to call in, because last night I was on a show that was doing news. I have a background in news, and I was doing a little bit of news on another show, and he's playing along here. Another wrestler that's trying to make a name for whatever reason, who's trying to pick a fight with a British wrestler that is some guy, I don't think you've ever heard of him, because you're a big-time star now. The good guy, CJ Black, comes from the state of Michigan. Probably don't even know where it is because obviously you're in the UK. Great show already.
I've heard the name.
Oh, you've heard the name. So you've heard of this guy.
I've heard the name.
Yeah. What do you think? Because apparently he's trying to make a name, I guess, off the backs of others. I mean, he claims to be a good guy. What do you say to that?
I'm on the fence.
Okay, all right, that's fair. You know what? And listen, I respect that. I mean, who knows, right? Anything is possible, right? But great show anytime. Anytime I can tune in and hear a little Harry Potter accent, I'm happy. They aren't good for much else, unfortunately. That's why I said I wanted you to hear the comment.
I'll think you're fine, buddy. I'm actually Scottish.
Well, they're in Michigan, right? In Michigan, they're almost like half the state's rednecks. So, I mean, what do they know, right?
Right.
All right, well, let's move on from that. We say hello to Daniel Banner. I think you know who Daniel Banner is. Obviously, he's
I
doing
know
some
who
training.
Daniel Bennett is.
And Daniel Banner is announced now for the GT Ministries Rumble next week in the Fountains Church in Bradford. And I have coverage of that because next Wednesday in your chair, Bentley, the vigilante of pro wrestling, who is the Bolton Town Rumble winner, is going to be here live with us. So Bentley is back. Bentley's got a lot to get off his plate here. So we'll have a lot of fun with that, I'm sure. Also, Zero Deus from Wrestling Championship Entertainment says, nah, you heard PJ Black. Some folks just aren't very original. So it seems like that's a fight maybe between some other companies. Jenny Hayes, the rock idol of the UK. Hello to Jenny. Hope she's doing well. You'll never take my freedom and freedom. What do you want to say to that, Mr. Okara, now that we see some other people tuned in?
I know exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to rile me up. And Mr. Snow, you want to get a riled up, annoyed hellhound, it's your roster that's going to pay for it, buddy.
But is there a follow-up? Is that's mind games with you, knowing that you get rattled easily and that's going to take you off your goals here in ENSA, which you've obviously kind of outlined some of those goals here over the first few minutes, Mr. Okara.
I have. Well, look at All Hallows Eve.
Correct.
I got in my own head, and J-Ro and Cerebral C managed to get the better of myself and JPR. Then fast forward to Nuclear Winter, when this new swarm was introduced. I didn't get in my own head. Someone else tried to push all those buttons, and they paid for it. So, if you haven't learned from that, Mr. Snow, once again, your roster are going to be on the receiving end.
Now, I'm going to ask you some targets on the roster in a few minutes, but I want to go back to something you just talked about here, Dante, about the Playtime Mafia. And I would argue that, now tell me if I'm wrong on this, but the biggest wins of your career had to be against J-Ro Lewis. I mean, J-Ro Lewis has been here on Sportswire Radio. This guy has been a world champion. He has been a multiple champion in UKW. I mean, he's a real pro. I mean, he is a real veteran in British wrestling scene. And he's obviously had some recent wars with Tommy Dillon, and we can go down the list with him. But talk about those wins that you had and how big they were for your career.
Well, I won't lie. I have all the respect in the world for J-Ro. I don't like him, but I respect him. And without a doubt, the victories over J-Ro really boosted my confidence in between those ropes. And since then, until Zenith, we've been on a roll. Nobody could touch us. The only reason we didn't win at Zenith is because, well, you saw the show, Tom.
Yep.
We got involved in a brawl that ended up spilling to the back.
Okay, but now, and I agree with you on that, and I did watch the match, and you can watch it on the Instagram page of Nonstop Action Wrestling. Please follow our dear friends at Nonstop Action Wrestling and Saw Wrestling UK, and obviously very happy to be covering Nonstop Action Wrestling as always, because Nonstop Action Wrestling, we've been I can't say since the beginning, but we've been covering NSAW for about like 14 or 15 months. So I'm well adversed. I've had almost the entire roster on. But can a point be made that because you guys got distracted on the outside, that's what cost you those belts? And in the record books, sure, you didn't take the pinfall, you didn't take the submission, let's say, but the record book showed the society retained the titles.
That's exactly what I'm saying, Tom. The record books show the society retained the titles, but the record books also show the Swarm was not anywhere near the ring when that happened.
Agreed. Now, I agree, but you guys didn't win the match. Wasn't the ultimate goal to win those titles, to wrest them away from Majakester and Kane and everyone else there in the society?
That was definitely a goal, but I like to argue that instead of achieving that goal, we went out and made a statement.
Okay, and what was that statement for those that are listening and watching out there?
That statement is, no matter who you are, no matter how dominant of a group you are, you step up to the Swarm, you're going to get beat down.
Okay, well, you know what? I certainly would not disagree with that. You guys have some muscle, you have some technical skills. I'm going to get to that shortly. But Mr. Snow, by the way, would like to respond, and I'd like to tell you what Mr. Snow has to say, if you don't mind. Come on, Dante, a little jab won't hurt. After all, you have a date with Pride in the Asylum for the Asylum Cup Championship. Don't say I don't do good things for you. I'm glad that Mr. Snow, our chairman of Nonstop Action Wrestling, brings it up because you and Pride have had a well documented back and forth. And this has kind of been a match that is a while in the making. That goes back, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Dante, to the beginning of when the original Zenith date was supposed to take place, right around the first week of April, WrestleMania weekend here for most of the people around the world watching and listening. So I have to ask you then, a lot on the line here, a lot basically between you and Pride that has gone on in a war of words. You guys have even seen each other through different machinations in the ring. So, I mean, talk about this and what this means to you.
Well, you're right. It goes back to the original date of Zenith. Pride challenged me
I remember.
to a a fight he never showed up for. So the Swarm got put in a tag title match we was not ready for, but still made an impact in.
Right.
Now, Mr. Snow is finally giving me Pride. If Pride actually shows up this time, you saw on the bracket when the tournament was announced, me and Pride got into it a little bit.
Yes, I did.
I was out there proving my point that I deserve that trophy. And Pride got in my face. Now I'm going to make Pride regret that decision. Because Pride still thinks he's dealing with the Dante of 2022. No, this is a new Dante, a vicious Dante. This Dante doesn't care who he hurts. Get in his way, you're getting put down.
Okay, so then let me ask you then a question hypothetically, and I'll get to comments. I'll get to a bunch of people who want to tune in and they want to talk. But let's say all goes to plan, and let's say hypothetically for your career. Now, you're right. Since you came on last year to where you are now, you've certainly improved a lot. You've definitely accomplished more. You've been in the ring more. You've shown that you are worthy to be back here on Sportswire. So let me ask you then, Dante, what would it mean to you to be the Asylum Cup champion?
It would finally show everything I've been saying since day one. It might have took me a while to get here, but since day one, I have been saying I am the future of NSAW. No, I am NSAW. And holding that Asylum Cup will only prove what everything I've been saying.
Well, we're going to certainly find out. And obviously, Pride, you alluded to that we'll see if he shows up. I mean, I would have to think that he would here. Let me get to Mr. Snow directly. You win that match, you have your chance for gold. If you can beat Pride, that is.
There's no if about it, Mr. Snow. It's when I beat Pride.
Okay. All right. Very confident, though. Very, very confident. Are you sure that it's confidence that's not too arrogant, not taking Mr. Pride seriously or lightly? I mean, what do you say to that?
I wouldn't call it arrogance, Tom, because
Mm-hmm.
once again, Pride challenged me originally, and he never showed up. So,
Yes, yeah, okay.
some would say arrogance. I say Pride's scared of me, and now they got nowhere to run.
Well, we're going to find out, hopefully, right? We're going to certainly find out. I do have some more comments. Let me get to them here. I have a bunch of different comments, which are a side point here to Mr. Okara. And I want everybody to follow Mr. Okara. First of all, please follow Mr. Okara on Instagram at Super Dante Okara. That is super duper Dante Okara. He is definitely super duper. He is definitely the Howhound. You definitely want to follow him out there. He is on Instagram, super duper Dante Okara. He's got a YouTube page also. So if you're on YouTube, put a search in for Dante Okara. Give him a sub. Also, friend request him on Facebook, Dante Okara. It really is him. So if you want to get in touch with him, make sure you do so here. And so let me get to some
I'm
more.
on Twitter as the Dante Okara.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? I don't know if I follow you on Twitter, but I actually have the show on Twitter, so I'm gonna make sure that I tag you on Twitter when we're off the air. So, thank you for reminding me because Twitter is like a dead platform, but I actually do still. Yeah, I'm on Threads now. Also, I don't know if anybody's on Threads out there, but I seem like I got a couple of added reactions on Threads. So, I have a show coming up later tonight with a professional gaming streamer. It's called Tamika Denise is her name, and she is a veteran, a poet, and a gamer, and she's going to talk about those experiences. And I shared the clip on Twitter, and it actually got like 2,000 impressions. So let's see what the future may bring. But let me get to some comments here. CJ Black, who's trying to make a name, I guess, off others. Zero, you'll be happy to hear it's pretty original since it's actually my name. Zero says, you're a good guy, CJ Black. Maybe one day you'll call yourself Ethan Bourne or Evan Korn or something. Well, Ethan Hunt is the big name right now because Mission Impossible is out Day of Reckoning, and I would certainly recommend you go out there and see it because I actually had an early ticket and I really enjoyed it. Mr. Black would say you don't have to read Zero's comments. I think he meant to say I don't want to take away from this beautiful Scottish fill in the blanks plus wrestling championship entertainment is full of hacks. Well, that's his opinion. The Asylum Cup tournament will bring out the heat and the worst of the NSOR roster. Let's talk about that because obviously we know that the Swarm is kind of in a position that you guys maybe do need this because if we think about the society, we spoke about the society over the past several months in Sportswire. They've been the dominant faction, right? They've been the ones that have been out there in these different companies. They've been in the ones, that have been in these different places, and we've seen them all over the country, up and down these different promotions. Do you feel like that in a way that this is important for you guys specifically to come away with the Asylum Cup? Talk to me about that.
Any victory is important for the Swarm, Tom.
But there's something on the line here, physically. There's something on the line here.
Like I gave a little spoiler. I believe it was last week on Instagram. I announced all 3 members of the Swarm are in this Asylum Cup. We are all in the running for it. We're all in the brackets. You see, I have complete faith in Drac Cross and James Westney's ability. I know they can get the job done. But I also know when it comes to it, they will do the right thing. Because the Swarm is about lifting each other up. You see, they help me rise to the top of this Asylum Cup, and in return, I mentioned this before, Zenith, I feel we lost because it was the wrong 2 members going for the tag championship. See, I win this Asylum Cup, I'm going to push Mr. Snow and the rest of NSAW management to give Drac Cross and James Westney the chance to go for the tag team championships. So everyone's a winner, Tom.
Okay, all right. I mean, I know Mr. Snow is out there. Do you think that Mr. Snow will oblige to that? I mean, why do you think he would be inclined to do that?
He'll be a fool not to. I mean, look at it. The Swarm versus the Society. No one else involved. No other 4 corners involved. Just the 2 groups. That's a moneymaker right there, Tom.
It certainly could draw some pounds. I definitely don't disagree with you on that. But Jenny would like to bring up that the Society will always be the dominant team in NSOR. I wouldn't be surprised if we were an inspiration for the Swarm. What do you say to that?
That's funny. That's funny. See, Jenny, without a doubt, the Society, top notch. Top of your game right now. even after the tragic events of Deadline with Kyle Kennedy, you guys are top level. And don't get me wrong, I'm not completely heartless, Tom. I mean, I feel for them. I felt for Kyle Kennedy when he got injured.
We had him on here about a month and a half ago. Yep.
Yeah, I offered my condolences to him. I wish him a speedy recovery. But is there a little bit of inspiration from the society in the Swarm? Maybe, maybe. Let's not forget the Swarm's been through 3 different variations now, Tom. So
You have been, yeah, you have been. I mean, I needed a scorecard actually to go through the history of the Swarm.
yeah, I mean, we'll be idiots not to take inspiration from the top team in the company. I
Okay,
mean,
let me
you've
ask you.
always got to be on top, right?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and I do have Mr. Snow here in a second, and I'll get to that. But let me ask you then. I mean, if I were to say to you right now that the society, because you mentioned Kyle Kennedy, the lawman, and obviously the lawman is, well, who knows if he's coming back at this point. Obviously, if you checked a vlog on YouTube out there, it seems like he could be retired. I guess I don't know at this point. In wrestling, you can really never say never. I mean, because people come back. I mean, Edge came back after almost 10 years. Shawn Michaels came back, and Ric Flair, I mean, will probably be 85 and try another comeback. I mean, but
Yeah,
this is if I were to tell you that the society right now are actually maybe ripe for the picking, ripe for the taking, because they are down some members, and obviously we wish Jenny a lot of luck because Jenny is going to be a mother very soon. So obviously the numbers in the society aren't what they used to be, and maybe this is the moment for the Swarm to
exactly.
overtake the society. What do you say to that?
Right now, the society are down to 2 members. 3 of you include Richard Knight, but Richard never steps foot in the ring. We all
Exactly, right. That's why to me it's
so
Majakester and Kane right now. They're basically the
exactly.
guys right now.
So if anything, not that they're going to be easy pickings at all, but the society are at their weakest right now, and NSAW, especially in the asylum, it's a jungle,
It's
Tom.
different in the asylum compared to what we see in
It's a
previous. It's
jungle.
very
You
different.
evolve or you die. It's time for the society to step aside and pass the torch to the swarm.
Well, it could be. Could the society's days be numbered? I don't know, but I know one thing. We are here having a great time speaking with Dante Okara, super duper Dante Okara, who has returned to Sportsfire Radio for the first time in over a year. I mean, Dante, I can't believe it's been that long, and we are certainly talking all things related to nonstop action wrestling. And Dante is returning to the ring here very soon against Pride in an Asylum Cup tournament match. You're going to certainly want to follow Nonstop Action Wrestling if you're on YouTube. Follow them at Nonstop Action Wrestling. Also on Facebook as well. Join the Nonstop Action Wrestling Universe group as well on Facebook. Also NSAW Wrestling UK on Instagram. Also NSAW Rest _ on Twitter. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. And if you're on YouTube out there, give us a subscribe on Sportswire Radio. So sub to us at Sportswire Radio. That'd be $65.79. Also 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. And speaking of wrestling coverage, Dante, in your chair tomorrow, speaking of authorities, we have on the general manager of Firestar Championship Wrestling, Mr. Stu Tunney. And Mr. Tunney is going to address a couple of different people. One person we just spoke about, Mr. Remus Kane, because Mr. Remus Kane is going to be in the ring against Young Horace in a no-rope match. Now, Dante, I don't know if you've ever been in a no-rope match, but we're going to talk about that. Plus, we're going to talk about Hammerhead Smith versus an old friend of ours on Sportswire. That is Dante Okara. Not Dante Okara. That is Andre Decker, Mr. Andre Decker, the Hellhound himself. So we are looking forward to seeing what the Hellhound has to say on that with Mr. Andre Decker and all things related to Firestar Championship Wrestling. So if you are out there on social media, follow Firestar Championship Wrestling on Instagram and Facebook, but we are here right now speaking with Dante Okara. So let me get to a couple of questions here in comments. The Swarm and a rotating door have a lot in common.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'll give you that one, Jenny.
But I would say right now, maybe the door is worked because I think between Wesley, Drac, and yourself, you
We're
guys are.
stronger than ever. We are stronger than ever. There are no cracks in the Swarm right now. Why should we replace anyone?
Who do you think, though, is implying that maybe the door could be changed later? I mean, it's been a historic thing. I mean, we go back to the days with JPR running things here.
That's true. JPR, I said it in an Instagram post. JPR walked so Dante Okara could run. As for Tyler Murphy with the Swarm, he was a weak link. So
I would agree with that. I do agree with that.
What did I do? I got rid of that weak link and replaced him. I took over from JPR's duties because he's a very busy man. And in response, the Swarm's been more dangerous than ever.
Yeah, I agree that you guys certainly have some muscle. You have some brains. I think back to the days of JPR. No disrespect to JPR, but it seems like you guys have had some more luck these past several months. Frankly, that's why you're here, I would have to say.
Exactly. Since the new Swarm was introduced, we've only had the one loss. So,
but we're going to see, though, if you guys are able to walk away with this Asylum Cup, I mean, that would kind of put you guys, instead of being at the back burner, kind of in the front of the line in terms of top groups and so I would dare say in the UK. I mean, that would certainly be a huge feather in you guys' caps, I think.
There's no if, Tom. There's when we walk away with the Asylum Cup. And when we do, we put this entire roster, this entire NSAW roster, the entire WAS roster,
well,
all of the UK scene are all put on notice.
Well, I was going to ask you something, Mr. Okara, but because you brought up WAS, now you brought them up, the Wrestling Appreciation Society. They have another show in November, and I got a big announcement here shortly I'm going to get to from Mr. Snow. But you mentioned Wrestling Appreciation Society. I noticed, by the way, in one of your more recent Instagram posts, Mr. Okara, we had on a recent guest, our most recent guest from WAS. That was Mr. Zachary Zest. And you had a back and forth exchange with Mr. Zest. He kind of jumped you, it seemed, this time, Mr. Okara. And what do you want to say to that? And maybe anybody else in the WAS roster? Obviously, we know that Matt Royale wants a crack at Disciple and his world-class title. You know a thing or two about that. You challenged Tommy Dillon when he was the champion. So do you want to now respond further to Mr. Zest or say anything else to that WAS roster?
Zachary Zest is not worth my time. Once Zachary Zest has done something to get my attention, he will have my attention. As for Matt Royale, we saw how Disciple destroyed Connor Cage. Matt's not going to be a problem.
Now, I actually agree with you on this one because I look at what Disciple has done over the past 9 or 10 months, not just in Enso, but I think about GT Ministries, right? Gareth Angel, right? We still haven't heard from Gareth Angel. I mean, I don't know what's on Gareth Angel's mind in GTM. I mean, I think about Tommy Dillon. I mean, you were in the ring with Tommy Dillon, and he made short work of Tommy Dillon. I mean, Tommy Dillon, has not been in really title contention since. I mean, I think about Connor Cage. You brought up what he's done to him. I think about Pride, what he's done to Pride. You may be opponent in the ring and end. So I think about what he's done in other companies in GT Ministries. I think about the Kingdom of Wrestling with my very good friend Mr. B, the mysterious Mr. B, and what he did there to the Los Lancadores. I mean, so I think about what Disciple has done. It would be very hard to believe that Matt Royale could wrest that title from Disciple, although he tried to make that claim here. I'll agree with you on that. But Zachary Zest, I mean, he did stand up to the society at Deadline. I'm sure you saw that.
I mean,
Mr. Okara. There you go. Mr. Okara. We got you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There we go.
Yes, Mr. Okara.
As I was saying, Zachary Zest stood up to the society, but at this point, who hasn't done that? So, once again, Zachary, I know you're watching somewhere. I don't really care where. You're not worth my time. do something that gets my attention, then we'll talk.
All right, I'll give you that much, Mr. Okara. You certainly are very confident these days, and you might have some reasons to. Let me get to some comments here before I get to an announcement. Let me get to some side comments here first. Serious question for Okara. What would you consider your style? You seem like you'd be a technical sort with maybe a swift kick to your opponent's groin every once in a while. Totally approved, by the way. You want to answer that?
Well,
From one wrestler to another?
Thanks to Wesley, I have been dabbing in the technical side of things more often. I don't really like to fly off the top. Why should I give the fans something they want to see when they treat me like dirt for almost 2 years? Why would I be so stupid to do that? As for the swift kick, have you seen any of my matches, dude? Like, I could easily snap someone's arm like that with one kick.
Yeah, you
Connor
definitely.
the hard way.
You definitely can throw yourself around in the ring, and I definitely think that people should go check out some of your stuff on the Nonstop Action Wrestling YouTube page, where you can see several of Dante Okara's matches. You can see many of them with the likes of Connor Cage. We brought up, obviously, J-Ro Lewis. We also talked about Tommy Dillon. So that's where you can watch some of that content and maybe come back to us and tell us what you think. But I got an announcement first, and I'll come back to some of these side comments. But if you don't mind, Mr. Okara, I have an announcement that I think you and many other people on Sportswire Radio would probably like to hear, especially if you're a fan of Nonstop Action Wrestling. So can I read this comment off for you, sir? Well, Mr. Bryce, I do have one announcement to make, and I shall make it here. August 19th, Nonstop Action Wrestling presents 0 Day, our next upcoming pay-per-view. Hope you're ready, Dante.
0 Day.
0 Day, yeah.
What date was that?
August the 19th. I know it doesn't sound like a Smashing Pumpkins album, by the way.
August 19th. I'm going to have to clear my schedule.
Oh, so you think it's a possibility you could be available for that day on August 19th?
There's a possibility. You see, Tom, Dante shows up where Dante wants to show up. And if the schedule allows it, there's a very good chance the Hellhound will be at 0 Day.
Well, it's not that far from now. As crazy as it sounds, I know it feels like summer just started, but August 19th is actually 5 weeks from this Saturday. So you might have to start planning.
I'm a very busy man.
You may be a very busy man, but you're going to have to probably make yourself available come August the 19th when it comes to Nonstop Action Wrestling's next event here, 0 Day. And I appreciate that Mr. Snow didn't call it a premium live event because WWE refers to all their shows now as premium live events. So I appreciate that he called it a pay-per-view. And I have no doubt on Sportswire Radio, we're going to be covering a lot of Nonstop Action Wrestling ahead of August the 19th. And I'm sure that some of your possible opponents could be on the show come August the 19th or anything you're doing that day. I'm sure you're going to come up here. So let me get to some more comments here. We have to agree on that one, Dante. Zachary Zest is a recycled The Miz. Irritating squirt eliminating me at the Rumble at Deadline. Well, what did you think about that? I mean, when Zachary Zest eliminated Jenny Hayes, the Rock Idol of the UK, at the Rumble in Huddersfield there.
I think Zachary Zest was in the right place at the right time. He got lucky. I've been in a Rumble environment with Jenny Hayes. Jenny can definitely hold her own.
Absolutely. Jenny can go. Jenny can definitely go in the ring.
Can unbelievably go. And yeah, Zachary Zest got lucky. What's Zachary known for? Just a talk show.
With the annoying jingle, and he tries to ask you questions. It's like
like Jenny said, he is a recycled Miz.
Yeah, with a lot less luck, right? Because the Miz is obviously, despite what you think of him, he's going to be a WWE Hall of Famer, and he's going to wind up probably, and when you think about all-time wrestlers in WWE history, I think he's in like the top 10 in total career matches, believe it or not. So he's actually, You know?
Gotcha. Miz has talent. Zachary Zest is the first Zachary Zest. Annoying and useless.
Well, I guess you could always say, not to go too much into people's personal lives, that the Miz was able to marry way above his average or his weight with Maurice. So I mean, you can
Yeah.
technically say, I'm not going to go down that road, but we'll have to find that out. But is there anything that you want to say to Mr. Snow ahead of the 19th of August that you might want to get off your chest?
All I gotta say is, Mr. Snow, just think about what I've said with the Society and the Swarm. That's an instant moneymaker. And you'll be an idiot not to take advantage of it.
I mean, listen, I will tell you, you know what? I'll even do you a further solid, right? Leave aside Mr. Snow for a second. Now, I will promise you, Dante Okara, one thing, and I'm not much for guarantees, I'm not much for promises, but I will promise you this much. I will have Remus Kane on before the August 19th show. I guarantee you that much. And I'll ask Mr. Kane about a number of other things, including Firestar Championship Wrestling, the no rope match with Young Horace. But I'll specifically ask him about you and the Swarm, if you'd like, because I'm going to bring Remus Kane on very soon on Sportswire, probably
Sounds good.
in the next couple of weeks. So if you want, I could ask Mr. Kane that question.
Sounds good. You saw the match once again. You saw a match at Zenith. You saw Remus was never in there at the same time as me. Remus Kane's been.
You guys never touched. Yes, I agree with it. You guys never touched. And there is that factor in terms of what would it be like if Remus Kane and Dante Okara, the Hellhound, touched in a wrestling ring. I would agree.
But the only member of the Society that laid a hand on me was Majigster. He got one lucky uppercut. And then the only other time I touched the Society was when Rex Savage threw me to the outside of the ring. That was it.
Let me ask you, though, a question. And I'm going to have Remus on in the next few weeks. And obviously, Remus is doing a lot. We've seen him in a number of different places. And Remus has been all over, up and down the scene here in the UK. And speaking of Young Horace, and I won't talk about what Young Horace has done in NSAW, but obviously because we're going to have on the general manager in Firestar Championship Wrestling, Remus Kane, after he was eliminated by Young Horace in the match there for the open weight championship, I mean, he did a number on Young Horace. I mean, he severely beat him. And Remus Kane is a guy that really has no remorse for people. And I've even seen him go after interviewers right now in UKW. He's making some comments on Facebook out there. And Remus Kane is a very vicious, ruthless, cunning, cold, and calculated individual. You have come a long way, Dante Okara. You have definitely shown up the Swarm, why you're the Hellhound. You've come a long way since the last time that I've had you on. But do you feel like maybe you would be punching a little bit above your weight by wanting to, let's say, target even a Mr. Remus Kane? I get Majakester, but Remus Kane, I just outlined what he's done here.
Once again, Remus and Dante never been in the same ring. Never had that opportunity to go one-on-one. Remus had an open challenge a number of weeks or months ago or whatever. Did he challenge me?
No.
See, what's happened in the past year, I've been a former UKW World Champion twice in J-Ro. I've gone against Sammy Blue. I've gone against Connor Cage, who, I might add, I created the Golden Boy. So, you're welcome, Connor.
Well, technically, yes, that is true, because the very beginnings of Connor Cage, you guys were basically his first big feud. All right, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
So, you're welcome, Connor. You're welcome for the push. I went against Tommy Dillon when he was the world-class champion, and I pushed him to the limits.
You gave him a better match than a lot of people expected. I agree. Fair.
Exactly. So, can Remus Kane hang with this new Dante Okara? Can he hang with the Hellhound? Can Remus Kane hang with the Devil? We shall find out.
Well, I'll ask Mr. Kane these questions. You are certainly going back to my days in law class, a rather convincing testimony here. You were certainly giving us a convincing appeal here. We'll have to see what Mr. Kane feels, but I'll still warn you that Mr. Kane is a cunning, calculated, ruthless, and cold individual.
Oh, without a doubt, but so am I, Tom.
Yes, but again, Mr. Kane's going to be in a no rope match. Let's think about this. How many people are ever in a no rope match?
It's basically a sumo match. I've played no rope matches on Wrestling Revolutions. I'm fine.
But this you can't compare playing a no rope wrestling sumo match on 2K versus in the ring in a real life wrestling match. I mean, I'll ask. Listen, I'm gonna do you solid. I like you. I've always liked you. We've always had a good rapport. I enjoyed you came on the first time. We brought you back. I will ask Mr. Kane these questions.
Yeah, no rope match. It's basically MMA.
All right, but again, it's Remus Kane is a different cat. He's a different cat.
Very true. Very true. I'll give him that much.
All right. We agree on that. Let me give you some more comments. Jason Storm, who is our reigning defending ROEW champion. You can follow them on YouTube and Instagram. I'm simply here to tell the good guy CJ Black to shut his mouth. If you think anyone from ROEW think the ROEW champion, Jason Storm. Zero Deus would like to say, because his name is Zero, but with an I instead of an E.
Yeah.
The Zero Day I'm on. I still think that somebody is like basically a Smashing Pumpkins fan. Because when I think of Zero Day Zero, I think of that Billy Corgan logo, the Zero shirt. I just think of that. I don't know why. And Billy Corgan, as we all know, has a wrestling influence because he's the owner of the NWA. So, I mean, listen, that's still tied into wrestling there. So, I have a good one here from Jenny. Heed Tom's warning, Hellhound. Remus Kane will make mincemeat. You see, I told you. I mean, you guys have been impressive, but I'm telling you, Remus Kane, just on a different level.
Haha, joke's on you, Jenny. I like mince.
Okay, all right. I mean, I'll give you that much here. I want to ask you something, though, because you brought up Tommy Dillon, and I don't want to go really and ask you about Tommy Dillon in the current, but what did you gain from the experience of challenging for the world-class title?
Well, yeah, over the past year, I've beat J-Ro, but without a doubt, the match with Tommy was the biggest match of my career at the time.
Absolutely.
To this day, you can argue it still is. And
I think that's up there. I don't know. I think the wins over J-Ro put you into where we're even talking about you with Remus Kane.
Yeah. But like I said, with Tommy Dillon, I pushed the then champion to his limits. He had to dig deep down in order to make me tap out. Now, I'm not ashamed to admit I tapped.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. Tommy Dillon has had an accomplished career. He's been a champion in multiple companies and
Tommy Dillon
GTM.
Tommy's an amazing athlete. But if we was to run that match back one more time, I feel like it'll be a different result this time.
Do you think that maybe him being the world-class champion kind of propelled him a little bit over you and he kind of rode that wave because he was kind of like the underdog, finally overcoming the odds? He had not really gotten quite the recognition and he was kind of put into that title.
Exactly. And at that time, I was still finding myself, Tom. So now with this new Dante versus the shell of what used to be the first ever world-class champion, it'll be a walk in the park.
Walk in the park. Dante Okara, I appreciate the confidence, but walk in the park with a distinguished veteran in Tommy Dillon. Interesting points.
Like I said, he's a shell of the man he used to be.
Well, I mean, I would kind of agree with that, but he's still a veteran. He's going to still have those tricks in the trade. Without
a doubt. But once again, I'm the Hellhound.
You are. I give you that. So then you saying basically in the past year that you're a different man. So then what is your goals then for 2023?
Well, the goal's simple. Take any championship that's presented my way, starting with this Asylum Cup, Warhog has been making a name for himself.
Yes, he has. Yes.
Notice how he went Warhog, and I'm the Warhound. Looks like we'll have to meet in the ring, see which one's the true warrior.
All
So
right.
I wouldn't mind that. I feel I can dethrone the Warhog. Show him that Scotland is miles above Wales.
Well, there is a similarity in the sense that I would argue that both of you are kind of different people than when I last had you guys both on the show. Is
Oh,
that a fair statement?
most definitely. We're both different people. I mean, he dropped the whole Champ Rogers,
Who?
best dad in the world act, which, in my opinion, is the best thing he's ever done. Because you look at things, what are you more likely to believe? Warhog as the first ever Youngblood champion or Champ Rogers?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you said that because as we're here on Sportswire Radio speaking live with Dante Okara, the Swarm leader, the Hellhound himself, he is going to be, it looks like, a part of the August 19th nonstop action wrestling live pay-per-view called 0 Day, which will be at the Be Strong Performance Center there in Swinton. For more information, you can go to NSAW_UK on Twitter, Nonstop Action Wrestling on YouTube, Facebook, the Nonstop Action Wrestling Universe page, as well as NSAW Wrestling UK on Instagram. And Nonstop Never Stop, as Dante is certainly doing a good job at promoting the company. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. But, Champ Rogers didn't have really any success in 22. If you think about
Exactly.
Champ Rogers, he was like, we had him here feuded with Kyle Kennedy, was in the ring with Tommy Dillon and GTM, and he had this alliance with Sammy Blue and Connor Cage, but didn't really go anywhere.
The
And
only
now
success Champ Rogers had was riding the coattails of Connor Cage. And we all know how that ended up.
yes, I agree. I agree with that.
So
I guess
have to say on that matter.
Okay, which is fine. And we've already talked about Connor Cage. We've established that. I got all that. But I think it's fair to say, though, that you've got some targets in NSAW. But I want to come back to the Swarm for a second, if you don't mind, because you spoke about Wesney, you spoke about Drac. Drac has obviously been the muscles of the group, and I think that he's added something here, especially in this turnaround, maybe new and improved, better fortunes of Dante Okara. But are you confident in the fact that you guys can stay on the same page? Because a comment was made by Jenny earlier that you guys have been like a revolving door. You guys have had like more members than probably members that have been in Megadeth. I mean, basically, you guys have had like countless members, it feels like, and countless lineup changes.
Definitely. We can stay on the same page. You see, me, Drac, Wesney, we go beyond. And so we've known each other for years. We are like brothers. The loyalty between us is without question. See, we won't have little hiccups in front of the camera like the society had in the early days with Cal Kennedy.
And there was somebody else in there that shall be not named, and
yes, especially that guy.
Yeah, we're not going to mention that guy's name. For all I know, he could be under a train right now.
Exactly. Drac. Now, before the Swarm, Drac, without a doubt, was making a name for himself. But you look at since Drac has entered the Swarm, before the Swarm, he was in like one matchup. But he has been unstoppable.
Well, he's like almost like the resident giant of nonstop action wrestling. I mean, there used to be a guy that was trying to be that, and that person, again, another person that we haven't heard from since, and he got one match in GT Ministries, and we never heard from him right afterwards. And Drac has kind of been, I would say, almost like the Damian Priest for you guys in a way.
Drac is a big guy,
very big,
and a very good man. Inside and outside of the ring.
Well, I'm sure he is, and I wouldn't want to meet him in a darkened alley, no?
Oh, no, definitely not. I give him the order. That's it. He's out for the
All right, that was a good one. That was good. Yeah, so we're okay then. So you're saying that you guys are on the same page, everybody's good, kind of like the previous incarnation, so we can rest easy that the Swarm's going to be okay?
Definitely. The Swarm are stronger than ever, Tom.
It's funny you said that because with the society, obviously, you mentioned deadline very briefly, and I'm not going to go down that road again, but I'm sure you saw kind of how Kennedy vented a little bit about Kane and Majakester and kind of like what had not gone down there, let's say, right?
Yeah, on about that. Kennedy vented a little bit. None of the Swarm Brethren was at deadline, so we don't know the
Right.
details really.
100%. Yeah. You and I
But
weren't there, so we don't
I
know what's
do
in people's
know the
heads.
society did not check on Kyle Kennedy. Just like have you've seen right recently, Connor Cage is showing this new mean streak.
Yes. Yes, I did.
Like he showed it on Callum Majakester. What happened? None of the society jumped in there. Dan Robertson was there. I didn't see Remus Kane.
Well, you know, before I get to a plug for you, because CJ Black wants me to plug your Instagram, which actually I'm going to do it right now. Super duper Dante Okara. So that's super duper Dante Okara on Instagram. CJ Black. If you want to follow Dante Okara, I highly encourage it. And I'm going to do this, and I don't know if I should do it, but I am going to do it because I like to be fair and down the line here on Sportswire Radio. If you want to follow CJ Black, follow him on Instagram, good guy underscore CJ Black. That is good guy underscore CJ Black. Everyone's the protagonist of their own story. Perspective creates a hero. So go follow him on Instagram, just like you should follow Dante Okara, super duper Dante Okara. Now, Dan Robertson, you brought him up again, and I want to go back to Dan Robertson because Dan Robertson, I'm sure you're aware of this kind of like this whole thing with the society, right? He was, Kennedy and, friendship, and Kennedy seemed to kind of, in a way, before his stepping away of the ring, it seemed like was showing some human element to him. Speaking of people that really didn't show any of that during his time in Ensa, was the lawman Kyle Kennedy.
Hmm.
But I have to ask you, I mean, the society are kind of in the numbers. They're down in the numbers. I mean, what do you make then of Robertson in the society? Is that something that we're still going to be talking about in the future? Obviously,
Well,
go ahead.
Robertson being the only person to check on Callum Jakester after the heinous attack by Connor Cage. Coward move, Connor, may I add. No one attacks after the bell, especially when the back's turned.
Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
not
It's kind of
even that.
tacky. I agree
I'm
with
not
you.
even that low. Connor, I at least wait for the guy to turn around.
Yeah, that's like anything else in life. They say if you're in a fight, like fight the person man to
Right?
man. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But like Robertson was the only person to check on Jakester. No Remus, no Kyle Kennedy, no Richard, no Jenny. You see, is it just me or are there cracks starting to form within the society once again?
Well, let me ask you then a follow up to that, and I think we've touched upon that. And again, I will ask Mr. Kane these questions in a couple of weeks because Mr. Kane's going to be a very busy man in some different promotions, and I want to get Mr. Kane's perspective, especially after what you said to him. But be that as it may about Robertson coming out and helping Majakester, but you guys had your own kind of alliance with Mr. Robertson about Mr. Carter. So let me ask you a question. I don't know if you're doing recruiting these days. I don't know if you are looking for prospective new members of the Swarm or up the Swarm, but you are the Hellhound. You've certainly done a lot in the last year that has improved your fortunes. But would you want the Cult of Killjoy and the Swarm, maybe even? Is this a temporary alliance, or what do you say to
Like
that?
like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, Tom, with Aaron Carter, it was just wrong place, wrong time. The
I can
Cult
see
of
that.
Killjoy are powerful. Without a doubt, they are powerful. Dan Robertson,
Yeah, I agree. Robertson, like it's like Finn Balor and the Demon. Like when Finn
right?
Balor's the Demon, it's like a different world.
Do I think Robertson has a chance against Sammy Blue in this upcoming Pride event? Maybe. Maybe this new annoyed Robertson does. New aggressive Robertson. But I'll be an idiot not to take advantage of a situation, Tom. And I am no idiot.
You're not an idiot. I agree with that, but I guess one point to be made is, which you kind of hit the nail on the head. Robertson really hasn't had, if you think about his win-loss record at Ensaw, you might have a better win-loss record than Robertson.
I believe I do. I might
I
have been on the losing end for a year and a half, but I've turned it around. Cam Robertson.
You have turned it around, whereas Robertson, I think about his track record at Ensaw. I mean, he had that really, really lucky win against Mr. Young Horace. Yep, really. I mean, we were talking about like really fluke wins. That had to be like the biggest fluke win in Ensaw and maybe UK wrestling history, at least in the last year.
But I'll give it to Dan. He warmed up the crowd ready for us to destroy Ed Havoc, J. Rowe Lewis, and Pride.
All right, yeah, all right, I'll give you that much. But so right now, Robertson, not a member of the Swarm.
No,
temporary alliance. Never say never.
Temporary alliance, but never say never. You never know what's going to happen.
You never know. Listen, you never know out there. Listen, Dante Okara, you're a sophisticated man. You're definitely a man that obviously is a very thinking man's man. Like, so I give you that much. But I have some comments from Jenny, and I hope Jenny's well out there. I guess I should ask Jenny if she wants to come back to Sportswire because I haven't heard from Jenny in a while. But I kind of feel like with the baby, it's like, I don't know, like people, it's a different thing. And Jenny, by the way, I got to give Jenny a cheap plug here, by the way, because the Rock guy, I don't know if you know this, Dante, was actually on commentary in GT Ministries' first ever all-women show. They did an all-women show.
I did see that.
Oh, you did? What did you think of that, by the way?
I thought it was an interesting concept.
I thought it was very forward-thinking, by the way. Good job.
Further down the line, Ensaw could probably do better if we had a bigger women's division. But
I was gonna say, I mean, maybe we could, maybe. I mean, but maybe.
As a parent myself, I wish Jenny Hayes a lot of luck.
Absolutely. Jenny, I think Jenny will definitely be a great mother. And if I can say this on air, Mr. Snow, I'm sure will be a great father. So we certainly wish them a lot of luck.
Might be a lousy chairman, but good thought.
Well, at least you said that much. You may not agree with him as chairman, but I'm sure his father, he'll do his best. But let me get to Jenny because I do want to mention that. Unlike you, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to intervene in my physical state. And like it says, in the name Callum, it's the upgrade and is a strong competitor that can hold his own. That's why he's in the society. What do you say to that? And by the way, what are you drinking, by the way, and how is it?
Cola out of Viking.
Oh, good, because it's funny. I don't know if I can show this due to copyrights, but I'll do it anyway. I've been drinking Mountain Dew, so I don't know.
Oh, it's good.
There's a joke about Mountain Dew. I'll tell you afterwards, but respond to this.
Majakesta's definitely an upgrade. I mean,
absolutely. Compared to that other dude, listen, for all I know, that guy, the other guy they had, for all I know, could be 6 feet under right now.
Well, that Majakesta's definitely the upgrade. And the funny thing is it wasn't Majakesta that gave himself that name. It was the fans. So obviously the fans know how much of an upgrade Majakesta is. And I was in there for a brief amount of time with Majakesta at Zenith. Would I like to be in there with Majakesta one more time? Maybe. If the time called for it.
All right, let me ask you a follow-up question. I have a comment and response from Mr. Snow, and I got about 15 or 20 minutes with Dante Okara, the Hellhound himself, and we appreciate Dante returning to Sportswire Radio for the first time in over. Dante, I can't believe it has been this long, but we are certainly making it worth it. We're having a great time.
I turned everything around before I came back.
Well, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you turned it around. You came at the right place in the right time, and we're very happy about the announcement here on Sportswire Radio that August the 19th is the next nonstop action wrestling premium live event, some might say, but we're going to call it pay-per-view here, that is called 0 Day. So certainly I'm definitely very excited and thinking about that. But, I mean, is there anybody on the roster other than Kane that you haven't touched that you'd like to square off with?
Warhog.
It's a good one. Young blood champion.
Hands down. Being there with Warhog. I've been in there with Matt Boyal. Matt got the better on me, I'll admit. I wasn't really feeling it that day. I've been in there with Sammy. I've been in there with Connor twice. You're welcome for the boost in rating.
But that was a different time, though. That was a very different time.
You see, if I stepped in there now, an aggressive Dante versus by looks of it, an aggressive Conor Cage. It'll be interesting. Definitely be interesting. Hopefully he makes a recovery and I get to step in there with Kyle Kennedy one day. I'm looking forward to that. But hands down, if I don't get Remus in August, Warhog.
I think Warhog would be an interesting one because he's kind of, in a way, reinventing himself, similar to you. Obviously, the young blood title, and I think about Enzo in a short amount of time. You think about this, Dante. We've got the Northern Division champion, Sammy Blue. We've got the young blood title in Warhog. We've got the Asylum Cup, which is going to be a big deal. That could be a big feather in your cap, possibly. We've got, obviously, the World Class Championship being held by Disciple, who is an international known person here. And I was speaking with Sheriff Steele when I met the sheriff this
Very
past
true.
weekend.
It looks like that young blood title does something different to a competitor. Like, look, he's gone from Champ Rogers, the best dad ever, to the War.
You know what I actually found about yesterday? I was looking for a shirt. You're gonna laugh. I actually found a Champ Rogers shirt. I was like, should I wear this or is this gonna be a token collectible?
Oh boy. But yeah, that title does something different to whoever holds it. So just imagine the next evolution I would have if I was to hold it.
Well, listen, I do think that there are things coming up that could further help jumpstart your career even further. An Asylum Cup, maybe a Young Blood Championship. I mean, I don't know
Right?
what
And
else.
you never know where Dante's gonna pop up.
Absolutely. No, listen, I definitely do not disagree with you on that. And Mr. Snow would like to say, well, we are planning to build up our women's division for next year's Zenith. Hint, hint. Well, there's a large pool of women's wrestlers in different companies across the UK. There's a number of names out there. Without giving it away, Ensaw has got a large pool to look for. I'm sure we'll grow some talent here as
Most
well.
definitely.
So I definitely think that those things will go into play. But I have to ask you, I mean, so we have this match with Pride, we have the Asylum Cup, we have the August 19th news, but I was wondering because you had said that you're an Ensaw original. You've been there since the beginning.
I am.
But would you want to go and wrestle in other places? Do you have other companies that are in mind that you'd say, you know what, that's where the Hellhound and the Swarm Leader wants to show up?
You know, I would normally say I have unfinished business within NSTOR, and I like to get that out of the way first. But now that you mention, that's not a bad idea. Just keep your eyes peeled, because once again, you never know where Dante's going to pop up. Could be UKW, could be FCW, could be anywhere.
Well, you know, there's a lot of companies out there, and I think about, I'm not going to ask you which one, but I think about CCW. I think about GT Ministries. I think about the LWF, Kingdom of Wrestling, Odyssey Pro Wrestling. I think about New British Promotions Wrestling, Firestar Championship Wrestling. I think about Blackheart Wrestling, I believe, is returning. I mean,
with the amount of people I've been in the ring with, I definitely got contacts.
You should. UKW is another company. Certainly, you've been in the ring with a lot of UKW talent. There's Alba Championship Wrestling, and I mean, there's CWE. I mean, there's just, you know, countless companies out there that we could certainly see the Hellhound himself. And I want to remind people again, I'll be live tomorrow about 8:30 p.m. British Standard Time. I want to get this correct. Stu Tunney, the general manager of Firestar Championship Wrestling. I'll be talking about Remus Kane and Young Horace, no rope match. I'll certainly mention maybe you for a minute or two with Mr. Tunney if you'd like. August 12th is their next show. Hammerhead Smith versus Andre Decker. That is for the Firestar Championship Wrestling. The unforgettable Andre Decker, who is one half of the Knockout Wrestling Tag Team Champions. Also a huge part of things in Odyssey Pro Wrestling. Also recently announced, I believe it's Chiron versus Martin Kirby. Martin Kirby, we know very well from Nonstop Action Wrestling, the legendary Martin Kirby. Yep, definitely. And I should ask you then, Martin Kirby, did you get to ask him anything?
It was great. It was great to share a locker room with Martin. Martin, I've looked up to Martin for a good number of years.
Sure, absolutely.
Back in the days of What Culture Pro Wrestling and everything, I was a huge fan of Martin Kirby, so it'll be great to see Martin once again.
Martin Kirby, and I had this conversation with Sheriff Steele, and I know he wouldn't mind me basically saying this, but Martin Kirby is like the definition of a pro wrestler. He's one of these few wrestlers in the British wrestling scene that literally his job is being a full-time professional wrestler. Like he wrestles in so many places. He is
Exactly.
literally the definition of a professional wrestler, and his quality of work, what he does in the
Exactly.
ring.
Like I saw a post recently on Facebook from Martin himself. Was on a comment that Martin Kirby is the most miserable wrestler ever. He's not miserable. He just knows how to wrestle. Plus, not a lot amuses him.
Well, I think when you're somebody like him that's a veteran and probably wrestles, if I'm probably being kind, probably about 100 matches a year. If he goes
He's a
out,
very busy man.
yeah, he wrestles about literally, I would say about 100 times a year. So you see him in at least what 10 or 11 companies per year. So you think about Martin Kirby, he's really the guy. I mean, Johnny Storm might be the other one. Johnny.
Martin is very busy. If I had to wrestle as much as Martin does, I'd look that way too.
Listen, and RP Davis is a guy that we're very close with. He's got 3 world titles, and RPD is great, but I don't even think RPD wrestles as many times a year as Martin Kirby does. Like I said, Martin Kirby, his job, he makes a living in being a professional wrestler. So it's not like a joke. Martin Kirby is like the real deal. He is like a true professional wrestler. Like everybody on Sportswire like wants to be a wrestler and wants to be paid for it, to be their living, their job, right? That's his
Exactly.
career, Martin Kirby. That's literally his career is being a professional wrestler. So if Martin Kirby says something, the reason I asked you, Martin Kirby has been there. He's been at the top of the mountain. He is still there. He has made a living being a professional wrestler. So he's the guy that I would want to be in that locker room and just pull up a chair and make sure that Martin Kirby, I get his ear and basically chew his ear off with every single question I could ask him so I could help me and further my career and figure out what I should do. So that's why I wanted to ask you about Martin Kirby. And CJ Black has a funny one here. In women's division, Jacob Collins and ROEW can finally win something. Well, maybe Jacob Collins can also learn how to talk better in an interview, but that's here nor there. But I wanted to ask you a fun question here, and I wasn't going to ask it to you before closing thoughts because you are Dante Okara, you are the Hellhound, but I see maybe the band's getting back together. I know you do some music on the side also, Dante. You want to tell us about that?
That's very true. Outside of the ring, Dante Okara. I mean, you've seen it on Instagram. The band are back together. We've had some ups and downs over the past year, some rebranding, some new lineups, but lately we have been sitting down writing some new material. So expect to hear from myself outside of the ring very soon.
Now, can we see you maybe potentially come up with some music for Nonstop Action Wrestling, being that you are a musician? Is that something that you might want to do in the future?
Never say never, Tom.
For those that are listening and watching out there, describe your music to somebody that's hearing about it for the first time.
It's a little bit of everything. Mainly we focus on new metal stuff.
Okay.
But a little bit of everything in there. Our vocalist, trying to introduce him to multiple genres of music so he can focus on find his voice. Me on guitar, it will be great because I've not really done that since college. It will be great to pick that up again. Granted, it'll be like a learning curve because guitar's like riding a bike. You don't do it for a certain amount of time, you completely forget how to do it.
Yeah, you got to bring back the calluses.
Exactly.
Remember you had to learn. You had to get adjusted to the strings. And they always said, well, my guitar teacher always told me, well, you've got to get the calluses. Got to make sure you get those calluses so you can play on the fingers, on the fretboards.
Exactly. But it will be a learning experience that I'm looking forward to.
Well, I mean, so who are your favorite guitarists then? I mean, who are some of your inspirations? I have to ask. I didn't ask that to you last year.
I have to be a fool not to say Slash.
That's a good one. And Calvin McJakeson, by the way, big Guns N' Roses fan, by the way. Oh
Mm.
boy, the irony in that.
Slash is amazing. Brian Adams does some good stuff himself.
Brian, I would never have thought you would have said Brian Adams. That's an interesting one. Kind of like the pop rock icon of like the 80s and 90s. Wow, Brian Adams.
Pop country stuff, but
yeah, he did.
To a little bit of everything.
He was the classic rock, pop rock. What do they call him then? He became the adult contemporary rock guy and
someone I've been listening to a lot lately. I've got to say Jeremy Renner.
Interesting. That's an interesting one.
Jeremy Renner's got it on point.
That's an interesting one. And Slash, I think of because everybody that learned guitar, the first song they said, well, if you can play that song, you're good would be Sweet Child O' Mine.
If you can play Smoke on the Water, you go.
Yeah, Smoke on the Water. You know what's funny? I heard something real quick that I don't know if they did this or not, but it was I think right before COVID that Deep Purple, the guitarist at the time, Steve Morse, was trying to break the Guinness Book of World Records. They were trying to get 300, and I think it was like 27 people up on stage at the same time to play the opening riff. Oh, you heard about that? Yeah, I thought that was like so fascinating. Like I didn't know that many people could play the same riff at the same time, but I guess that was what they were trying to to do. So I guess maybe we'll see some new music out there, and also I noticed that you're doing some acting, modeling out there. Before we get to closing thoughts, did I see that correctly? Go ahead, talk about it.
A bit. It's a bit of both. It's with the guy that films all my promos with me. He's great. Brandon George, amazing guy. Really talented behind the camera. I'll be a fool to go with anyone else. If I need anything done, I instantly go to him. The guy lives like 5 minutes away from me, so it's a piece of cake. And yeah, all the merch and everything you see me wear, it's all his stuff. He has his own brand out there. It's with coffins as well. They're great. And yeah, Brandon's just really good at what he does.
Well, we definitely want people to check that out. I want to say hello to my guest Saturday night, New York time. That is the real deal, Anthony Steele. He's from a number of different companies, and he says hello, Tom and Dante. And Anthony Steele will be in the house at 10 o'clock Eastern time. About 10 o'clock, I think we said about 10:30, something like that for Anthony Steele. And that gives me time to go out and watch once again Mission Impossible: Day of Reckoning because I want to see it a second time. So, spoiler alert, I like the movie. Hopefully, you get a chance to see it. So,
that's cool. I'm not really a Mission Impossible guy.
No, you're not. No, why not?
I just never could get into them. It's just really, how can Tom Cruise kill himself this time?
I don't want to spoil it because there was interesting you said that. I don't want to spoil it, but
it's cool. It's cool. I've seen it. I've seen the movie, but let's not spoil it for the fans.
Okay, I did see Indiana Jones, and I will say that. So Indiana Jones last week, and I do think that Mission Impossible was far better than Indiana Jones. I don't know if you, that. I'll say it wasn't a bad movie. Not to go too deep off the cliff, literally, cheap plug there. But I do think that there was no need to make another Indiana Jones. But it was not a bad movie. It was just like
the last one.
But yeah, well, I mean, that's not saying much. That's not. And they had 15 years to get this right. It's quote unquote supposed to be the last one. So, judging how it did at the box office, I think it's going to be the last one because it's not that it bombed. Not as bad as Flash. By the way, I saw Flash hard pass on Flash, by the way. Hard pass on Flash.
Yeah. The last Star Wars was supposed to be the last one.
Yeah, well, I liked Rise of Skywalker. People were polarized on that. I do think there'll be another Star Wars because, again, they make too much money.
There's going to be another trilogy, yeah.
Of course, but it'll be different. But I do think Rise of Skywalker was good, but it polarized some. I'm still going to be the rock star of Enso, though. Yeah, well, listen, nobody's going to... No doubt about that. Jenny Hayes
is stealing your thunder, Jenny. Without that, you are the rock star. I am the hellhound.
Well, that's why we're here. And Jenny Hayes has definitely got the best pipes in the business. And Jenny, big shout out as always. And I want everybody to follow Jenny Hayes, the rock idol of the UK. Check her out on YouTube. Check her out on Instagram. Check her out on Facebook. She's literally everywhere. Twitter. She's probably on Threads as we speak. She's probably on TikTok. And it's Jenny Hayes Idol on Instagram. And check her out on Facebook and YouTube as well. All right. So, you know what? I want to get to closing thoughts here. So, I want to ask you one more question. So, my question to you then is Dante Okara ahead of the Asylum Cup. Now it seems like we'll see if Pride finally shows up. You make a point, but let's play along here and say that Pride shows up. So for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio, what are your final words before it looks like you see Pride in the Asylum Cup Championship Tournament?
All I gotta say about that is Pride. Remember whose yard you're stepping in. This is not only the asylum, but it's my asylum. It's been my asylum for the past year, Pride. So step into the ring with me. It might be the last thing you do, if I feel kind enough.
Oof. Well, I'll tell you what. Will we finally get what the world has long been waiting for over the past several months between Pride and Dante Okara?
I will finally prove that the Hellhound is better than the Lion.
Well, I would certainly say that a Hellhound is probably more ruthless. Could a Lion, though, be more pack a bigger punch or a bigger bite?
Like I told Pride before, it's too late to make a deal, so Pride's going to be dancing with the devil.
Well, I agree. He'll be dancing with the devil. Will the outcome be to what you want? We'll find out. I'll tell you that much. We're going to definitely find out, and looking forward to that, and as well as more coverage here of nonstop action wrestling here on Sportswire Radio ahead of the August 19th 0-day event. And Dante, I want to give you the floor now, my friend, and give you some closing thoughts and anything else you want to plug, share, say. And hopefully we do this a lot sooner than a year from now. So I turn it over to you, and anything else you want to plug, share, say, and the floor is yours, and be my guest.
My closing thoughts is really, once again, keep your eye out for me absolutely destroying Pride. Keep your eye out for Dante Okara on social media because you have no idea where I'm going to pop up next. The Dante Okara over on Twitter. I admit I don't use Twitter as much as I use Instagram, but I still use it.
Yeah, Twitter, it's a dead platform. I mean, I'm using it still, but it's a waste of time.
Yeah, just keep your eyes open, really, because you never know where the Hellhound's going to pop up.
And YouTube, you're on YouTube. You do have a YouTube page. Because Sportswire is on YouTube now these days because I'm, I guess, forever banned on Facebook online. So, I mean, I have it on my phone, but on my laptop, I don't think I'm ever getting back Facebook. So,
I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok as the Dante Okara.
Yeah, wrestlers seem to be going to TikTok, which is something so I just did Threads. I figured Threads would be easier than TikTok, but I may eventually join TikTok, but I'm on Threads right now. I just joined Threads. So.
I'll admit, at first I was one of those people with TikTok. Like,
yeah, I thought the same. I was like, why am I going to do this? But it seems like wrestlers now are all on TikTok.
Yeah, it popped up. It's a great place. Yeah, I'm all over social media, but keep your eye out because you don't know where I'm going to show up next.
Well. The nonstop, never stop, they say, for the nonstop action wrestling roster, and it looks like Dante Okara is certainly living proof of that. He has certainly come a long way in the past year. The Swarm leader has had some big wins over the likes of J. Rowe Lewis, and the Swarm is going to be in action, a huge part of things in the Asylum Cup tournament. Undoubtedly, the August 19th pay-per-view show, 0-day, where a number of people are going to be in the ring. And I want to say hello before we go here to Skulls, the Soul Hunter, who came in here at the end of the show via California, made his return to the ring over a 14-year hiatus. He returned in Wrestling Championship Entertainment Showdown in the Yard. And I say hello to Skulls. And Skulls, I'll be back tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. your time, with somebody from California, Sacramento. Tamika Denise, veteran poet, also streaming gamer, professional gamer from the Pro Zone Gaming Division. So if you want to hang out and say hello, I'll let you say a few words then. But I want to thank you, and I look forward to speaking with you, Skulls, very soon about your return to the ring after 14 years. But the Hellhound, you've certainly proven why you are that and some. Looking forward to watching you in the ring here very soon against Pride, and certainly a part of the August 19th show. And keep up the good work. Everybody follow you, Super Duper Dante Okara, on Instagram one more time. And I look forward to speaking with you soon, my friend.
Once again, my friend, it's a pleasure. I might not be the most liked man, but I'm a very honest man.
You definitely are honest. I will give you that much. Some of the things I agreed with today, some of the things I didn't. But again, it's going to be in the eye of the beholder, and it's going to come down to what nonstop action wrestling and management and the fellow locker room that you share with and who you square off when we'll find out very soon as well. But thank you, everybody, here for tuning in on Sportswire Radio. If you're on sportnarium.com/player, you're going back to your regularly scheduled programming. I'll be back here at 10 p.m. Eastern Time with Pro Zone Gaming Division's Tamika Denise. Also here, I'm going to be back tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:30 p.m. British Standard Time with Stu Tunney, the general manager of Firestar Championship Wrestling. And if you're a nonstop action wrestling fan, undoubtedly I'll be back with more coverage events before the 19th. And if you're on Twitter and YouTube, I'll be back again 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is also 3 a.m. UK time. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in on the number one global radio station. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, the host of the Sports Report and the owner of Sportswire Radio. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, on the number one global radio station that is Sports